is just fantastic.
Captain's Log, Subdate 210518.6. With there being a growing concern with regards to copyright and my Lego-styled ISO cubes, I am looking at plans to alter them. Failing that, I'll just sentence those who try and claim my ISO cubes to the ISO cubes, because I'm a dick. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. Today we welcome inmate number 073, Bregazzi. Bregazzi has a history of criminal activity, and we're going to go through quite a few of them, as they do indicate mental health issues, some of which can be attributed to a Heisenberg-related addiction. The majority of Bregazzi's crimes can be traced all the way back to 2007. The common theme would be they are predominantly shoplifting related, majority designer frocks and handbags. But the more notable crimes took place from 2018 up to present. In 2018, Bregazzi made headlines when she got big brave and threw a policeman onto the tracks of the Hanger Lane Underground, mere moments before those lines were active. For this crime, she was given a suspended sentence. What had happened that day was that Bregazzi had been spotted shouting in Kensington at 11:30 a.m., which was when police were first alerted to her. Soon after, she entered the Divertimenti store in Brompton Road, where she strode through, pushed over a displayed table and damaged about £500 worth of plates. She then walked out of the store towards the entrance where a man had stopped at a set of traffic lights in Brompton Road. She picked up items near the store's entrance and threw them at the car, which caused 2 dents. Bregazzi then walked into Harley's Pharmacy in Old Brompton Road and picked up 2 shopping baskets, which she then threw at a woman who was leaving from the till. She screamed, "Get your hair braided" at her and proceeded to follow her out of the store and pushed her against the wall by her shoulders. In that incident, a member of the public had to intervene to allow that person to flee. Shortly after, Bregazzi pushed a woman who was walking along the pavement into the road, into the path of oncoming cars. That victim also managed to escape without serious injury. Eventually, Bregazzi was arrested and taken to a police station, where she refused to be interviewed and decided to spit on a police sergeant. This was pre-COVID, although I would still argue it is in fact a weapon of mass destruction coming out of her mouth. Chemical weapons attacks of any kind are not tolerated here at the Halls of Injustice. Your mouth will be sewed shut. I do want to insert this now. When it comes to authority, Bregazzi does not handle authority well. There are reasons, we'll get to them soon. Shortly after receiving her suspended sentence, and I promise you the turnaround for this was not a long one, Bregazzi was arrested again, this time for kneeing a police officer in the chest in Brixton. For that, Bregazzi was sentenced to 10 months in prison in 2018. I also want to insert now, Bregazzi doesn't like working with other people. That would include lawyers. She is rarely represented in a courtroom, which makes this remarkably interesting, especially when, during a hearing, the district judge, Angus Hamilton, has to issue Bregazzi a formal warning to stay quiet, because in the public gallery, you can hear Bregazzi shouting, "You don't explain cis life," along with waving arms, gesturing, mimicking, doing her hair, and jiggling her breasts, while the judge was reading a report. During one of these trials, a probation service report was given, describing her actions as a tirade brought on from withdrawals from injecting Heisenberg for several years. Because of the lack of legal representation, probation had to work out motivations for certain behaviors, and they believe that Bregazzi had been suffering due to personal issues, which included feeling vilified and ostracized by her family, as well as the general public. The last time that Bregazzi was in Westminster Magistrates Court, it was for a separate but similar issue, with probation adding that her situation had changed, and that she had stopped injecting the Heisenberg, which she often took as a adult worker. But because Paris Bregazzi doesn't like to work with anyone, probation officers were unable to offer a proposal of any great weight about whether she should be given a custodial or suspended sentence, which is strange because she had initially been engaging with them. So I guess we should now get to the more recent incident. In June of last year, at the London Bridge train station, Paris Bregazzi attacked a woman called Dena Rano, where she shoulder-barged her to the ground, then went on to smash through the disabled gate to the Jubilee line, and then knocked another person to the floor on the platform concourse. The latter did in fact go and approach Paris Bregazzi, and was told, "You're in my way, you cunt, go F your husband." Oh, and because this really doesn't stop. In a separate incident also at London Bridge on October the 17th of the same year, she stormed up to partially sighted Agnes Page, who was on her way to the Mooresfield Eye Hospital, and just smacked her on the back of the head. Paris Bregazzi understandably was arrested yet again. This time, she was charged with 2 counts of assault by beating and 1 count of assaulting occasioning actual bodily harm, which she has since gone on to admit to. Sebastian Cox, because yes, eventually Paris Bregazzi did allow someone to defend her, said that on both occasions, Paris Bregazzi was in a mental health crisis, and that her medication was incorrect or had run out. With him saying, certainly by October she had run out of all medication, she was unable to get that prescription. She reports hearing voices and still does to this day. The negative voices of her family, who simply can't accept her for who she is. Deeply ingrained is the trauma of her identity, not being helped by a family who simply can't accept it. I just want to add this now, with all the sources I managed to get for this, none of it is in an accurate timeline, making a lot of the incidents a bit mishmash, a bit higgledy-piggledy. It was a tad tiring, but they all do paint a rather interesting picture. The defense's defense, that sounded weird, was mental health and medication running out, along with the lack of support from family. And the prosecution doesn't have to do anything, because Paris Bregazzi's in the gallery being an absolute jackass, ensuring that she is seen in the best negative light. With the assault charges and her previous convictions, Paris Bregazzi was found guilty, and with this there is another sentence. Judge Freya Newberry sentenced Paris Bregazzi, or inmate 073, to 9 months imprisonment as well as a £100 fine, saying you hadn't been released that long from prison and walked towards a woman not known to you. You threw some coffee around and exhibited some angry traits. She was pushed to the floor heavily, and the effects on her was both physical and mental. Not stopping there though, you walked towards the tube and towards Miss Krenner's, who you assaulted by heavily knocking her to the floor. There has been an increase in your offending, including of violence, battery, assault, harassment. Of course, I have to protect the public. Throughout her rather illustrious career of 14 years, she has committed more than 60 offences. That is quite the track record. One I'm sure will put you on the New Year's honours list in no time. In the case of Paris Bregazzi, or inmate 073, of course I would want Paris Bregazzi to get help, to get back on the right track, because the majority of these crimes look like impulsive cries for attention. There shall be no denying on my part that Paris Bregazzi requires treatment. Whether or not it will amount to anything positive remains to be seen, and it is likely if no treatment is offered, Paris Bregazzi will be back in the cubes in no time. With this case, I do want to know what you all think, so please do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, I shall be streaming on Twitch tonight. If I don't see you there, have a fantastic day and thank you all very much for listening.